Hi, this is Lamar, and you're listening to Getting to Third Space with Lamar and Tom. A third space is a term that refers to a safe space for people to come together for respectful dialogue in a spirit of listening, sharing, and learning. In this podcast, we explore what it means to have third space conversations, and we try to model them. If you like what you hear in this podcast, please be sure to subscribe, share it, and of course, like it. The more people join us, the quicker we get to third space as a society. Now let's get to third space today.
Hey there, Lamar. How's it going today?
Great. Good.
Good morning, Tom. And it is morning.
It is morning. Yes.
Yes.
And I feel like it's been raining ever since you left. Oh my goodness. You had a good
meaning that we were there
yes.
to visit you in Maryland, and it rained just one day.
Yeah, I know.
And so we did a podcast. Which will you've already should have seen if you're listening to this one.
Yeah, right? That's right. It's it aired it would have aired previously to this one.
Yeah. But no, we had a great time. Weather was pretty good. Now, we had one night of rain on our way home. We were camping, so we're trying out this little camper that we got, and fortunately, Iowa was playing football, and so we just pulled out dinner, shut the door and turned on the Iowa game, and watched a less than stellar Iowa game at that point, and then we were ready for bed, so it didn't bother us at all.
But they pulled out the game. They got the win.
Out the game. They did.
And to Rutgers' credit, they're doing a whole lot better than they used to do.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, they've got some good coaching, some really good players. I was getting kind of worried in the first half of that game, but then Iowa did come roaring back. Their defense got to work, and it turned out to be a very good game. At least from the Hawkeye perspective.
From our perspective,
it was a very good game. But you got home safely.
Yeah, everything went well. No major problems. And getting ready for my next adventure.
Excellent.
Notice I have my fishing shirt on.
You got your fishing shirt.
That tells you anything.
Yeah, you're about to go off on a fishing and kind of a fishing photography trip, right?
It's mainly going to be a photography trip this time, but we're going to be in the right spots for doing a little fishing. Who knows?
Excellent. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. So, hey, boy, we are so fortunate that we are able to loop back to one of our earlier podcast guests, Senator Ethan Corson, senator from in the Kansas State Legislature that represents Johnson County, I believe, which is Kansas City. And Ethan, don't know what possessed him in the moment, but he agreed to come back on.
That's right. And we're thrilled that he has thrown his hat in the ring for the race for governor. Our current governor has termed out, so she's unable to run again, at least for now. And so, he's going to talk a little bit, hopefully, about what that's like.
Yeah. It's kind of neat to be able to have an opportunity to talk to a political candidate about what that process is like for them, right, for their family, for people close to them. And so it's going to be really great to have some of those conversations with Ethan.
So really he has been sitting in the green room.
He's been sitting in the green room, and I hope he's been in. Did you remember to send the basket this?
But I kind of changed it up this time because this is fall harvest time.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of like the fruit basket, we're doing a vegetable basket. We're doing right from my garden. We're doing peppers. We're doing tomatoes. We're doing carrots.
Excellent. Excellent. I heard you had a lot of peppers.
I have a boatload of peppers.
Excellent. Very good.
So anyway,
right.
Hopefully he's got dinner plans already taken care of with his family with my bountiful harvest.
Excellent. Well, let's go ahead and open the door to the green room and welcome in Senator Ethan Corson. All right. Well, the door of the green room has swung open and Ethan Corson has stepped through. So,
Welcome, Ethan.
hey, it's good to see you again, Ethan.
Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it. It's great to be back on.
So, what is new since we last talked to you back on May 26th, I think it was?
Well, I'm running for governor of Kansas.
Oh, Ethan, I only have one thing to say about that. What are you thinking? What? What?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, more seriously, what moved you to run for governor? Because when we talked with you back in May, Lamar, maybe you can remember, but I can't remember anything that would have clued us off that Ethan was even thinking about running for governor.
I think he was keeping things pretty close to his chest back in May.
I think so.
That's okay.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so kind of my process was really I have this theory that about Kansas, that I think that when we as a state have done well, it's been because we've had leaders who've been able to work with members of both parties, who've been able to bring people together, who have been able to kind of find common ground with folks and really drive progress for the state by working with members of both parties to figure out solutions that work for Kansans. And I looked at the field of other folks who were running, and I just felt like there was a void of people who could both win the race and who would govern as kind of a practical, common sense leader. I think we've done well when we've had that kind of leadership. I think as a state, I would say that we've struggled when we've had leadership that's been much more really rigid and much more ideological and much less focused on coalition building. And so I felt like I had the ability to both win the campaign and govern in a way where I could bring people together in both parties to really get things done for Kansas and keep our state moving forward.
Ethan, you have you're kind of using a theme that is near and dear to both Tom and I, and that is the idea of the kitchen table. Can you talk a little bit about how that plays into your thinking and how that plays into your the messaging you're wanting to get out to the state?
Yeah, it is. I'm glad that you picked up on that because that has been something that we've really centered the campaign around, is this idea that really what Kansans are really most focused on are those things that families are talking about around kitchen tables across Kansas. And I don't think that's the conversations that are happening among families in Johnson County are not that different than the conversations that are happening around kitchen tables in Johnson City, Kansas, in the southwest part of the state. And I think that really what folks want at the end of the day is, they want good government that's going to provide basic services in an efficient manner. They want to make sure that they're able to provide for their family, have a good job, retire with dignity, send their kid to a good school, take a vacation, drive on roads and bridges that are being maintained. The basic blocking and tackling of government, when I'm out talking to Kansans, that's really, those sort of issues are really what they bring up to me. I think, and it goes back to one of the reasons I first ran for the state Senate, was because I felt like there was a lot of focus on these culture war issues that were really divisive, really affected a small number of Kansans. And I ran for the state Senate in 2020. I'd never run for anything in my life, but I ran in 2020 because I really said there's just too much culture war in this, and there's not enough kitchen table. And so those are things I've been focused on as a senator, and those are the things that I'm really centering our campaign about, and that I'm going to focus on as governor.
Ooh, I want to write that down. Too much culture war, not enough kitchen table.
I love
really
it.
Like that. So did you have to pay a marketing company for that slogan, or you just come up with that?
No, I thought I got that one all myself.
Wow. Hey, I'm impressed. I mean, seriously, when I heard that, I go, Whoa, that is spot on. Lamar, we're going to have to adopt that, and but we may have to credit Ethan on
We'll
that.
credit Ethan on that one.
Okay.
By the way, there is a really cute video of you talking from your kitchen, I believe it is, right? At the kitchen table and your family's having, it looked to me like breakfast. I'm not
Yep.
sure.
We were
I was
trying to
looking
get the
for
boys
church.
out the door. It was in July. We were trying to get the boys out the door for summer camp, actually.
Okay.
So
And
that
you
was
had-
kind of a live look at our kitchen tables. You're trying to get a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old off to summer camp.
I got to tell you, you have a lot of energy in that room.
Yeah.
and I loved the way you asked your son, "Hey, will Dad make a good governor?" He says, "Yeah."
Yeah.
It was a good take. Very good.
It was really cute. It was really cute, and they were good sports about it. And I got a lot of positive feedback on it. You know, I'll be honest. So I was a little skeptical of the idea because it's just pretty raw and pretty unfiltered and pretty unproduced. And I thought, well, I'm running for governor. Should this be, maybe a little more, kind of more well produced and a little bit kind of more Spielberg-esque? But the feedback that I got was, no, we really liked that. It really felt like just a candid, unfiltered look at kind of what your family looks like in the morning. So,
but speaking of your family, and we've been talking about that you're being sensitive to the fact that there are a lot of Kansas families sitting around the kitchen table having these conversations, and I'm imagining you probably had some interesting conversations with your family when you wandered down to breakfast one morning and said, "Oh, honey, by the way, I think I'm going to run for governor." So. I'm just wondering how did you and your family come to that decision, and are they excited about this with you?
Yeah, I'm really lucky. I've got a really supportive family. My wife Jenna has been incredibly supportive throughout, not just this campaign, but running for the state senate, serving in the legislature. So she's been tremendously supportive, which, you really can't do this, I think, without the support of your family. There's been times I've been talking to other folks about their interest in running for office. And whenever somebody says, "Oh, I don't think my spouse is really on board with this," I always feel like that can be a red flag, right? I mean, I always caution folks to say, your family really needs to be supportive of this. And so I'm lucky that my wife Jenna is supportive, and our boys are excited. But really, again, it kind of came back to what I mentioned in the opening, which was Governor Kelly is supporting us in this campaign. I think she has been the kind of pragmatic, common sense leader that has been able to drive results and move the state forward by bringing people together. And so, when she felt like I was the right person to succeed her as governor, she's term limited. She's can't run again, and that was at the point when we really started to look at it as a family much more seriously. Just because I think that when the governor comes to you and and is willing to support you and feels like you have the ability to bring people together to move the state forward, I think you owe it to people to give that a really strong consideration. And so that was at the point when we really started having those conversations as a family.
Mm.
The basis of this podcast is creating third space, an opportunity for people to work together, to talk about difficult things in a civil way. The last time that you were on, we talked about your relationship with other senators and representatives, and how you worked across the aisle. Recognizing that this may shift some of those dynamics, Has your relationship with across the aisle has it changed at this point, or how would you kind of describe the impact that it's had on your work, as a senator?
Yeah, I would say thankfully it hasn't. We're just in Topeka last week for some, we call them interim committees. So our legislature, our normal session is basically mid-January to mid-April, but then during these breaks, we'll get together on certain specific topics and we'll have maybe 1 or 2 days of meetings. So I was in Topeka last week for a meeting of the tax committee, and had some really good conversations with folks. There's a lot of good natured teasing, of course, which is part of it, and which we enjoy going back and forth and things of that nature. But no, it's been really good. I still value those relationships, and I know that they will be, as governor, more important than ever in being able to work with folks and trying to bring people together to get results for Kansans, which I think is what we're all interested in doing at the end of the day.
So there has been a little bit of breaking news today that kind of speaks to the tensions that can be created between candidates. And that news comes out of New Jersey, where a previously pretty civil campaign for governor that the candidates had agreed to has turned pretty ugly. And due to the release of some documents about the Democratic candidate by allies of the Republican candidate, which leads us to wonder, how do you keep a campaign for governor civil? And is there any way for you to prepare for both yourself and your family, if it gets dirty along the way?
Yeah, I think that we've really tried to center our campaign around the issues, and I think that the more you can stay focused on the issues and your vision for the state, I think the better that is. And so, in my public comments and remarks, whether it's on radio, television, or just speaking to groups, I really try to stay focused on why I'm running, what I think I have to offer, and what my vision is. And I sort of leave it to other people who are running to offer what their vision is. So I think the more that you can really focus on your own ideas and your own vision, I think that's a way to stay away from the personal and the negativity. And it's one of those things, we've talked about it a little bit as a family. I mean, we know that, unfortunately, I'm sure that there will be, as part of this campaign, to some degree, negativity. I think that is a reality of most races of this scale. The thing that I feel good about, that I try to keep in mind, is I basically have the same friends that I've had since elementary, middle, and high school are my closest friends. And I think they would all say, yeah, he's basically the same guy that we grew up with. And so as long as you know that you really haven't changed and you're comfortable with the person that you are, I think you really can't control some of that outside noise. But I was, one of the nicer things that anybody has said is, my high school baseball coach, who was probably, other than my parents, one of the most positive influences in my life as a young person, was my high school baseball coach, Bill McDonald. He's one of the winningest high school baseball coaches in the history of Kansas. But beyond that, is just somebody who was a great teacher, role model, leader, and coach. And so we've reconnected through this. He comes to my monthly town halls, and I just remember hearing him talk to somebody else, and he just said, Ethan's basically, he's been like this since I was coaching him in high school. I mean, this is the same person that played for me 25 years ago. So I feel like, as long as Bill McDonald and my high school friends and my high school coaches all look at me and say, Yeah, it's basically the same person we've always known. You really can't control a lot of that outside noise, but I am getting better, and my wife always reminds me, don't read the comments. Yeah. That is sort of the advice that I'm better at giving than taking, but it's like, don't read the comments.
Yeah. Let somebody else do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, you mentioned our current governor, Laura Kelly, who is a Democrat in a state that we've talked about last time, is heavily governed with Republican representatives as well. And so Kansas has this interesting history of both parties being in leadership at the same time. And how would you compare the approach that you see yourself, if you're able to win that position? How do you see yourself governing in comparison, and maybe contrasting what Governor Kelly has been doing for the last, it's been 8 years?
She's headed into her 8th year.
Yeah, going eighth year. Kind of, how do you see your style and kind of your focus if you were to win that position?
Well, I think I'd be coming directly out of the legislature, and having a lot of good relationships with folks in both parties. I would be very hands-on, very communicative with the legislature, very interested in being involved in the process and trying to work with folks to shape things in a way that I think is best for the state. So I'm just a very detail-oriented leader. I'm very hands-on with the legislature, and would, I think, continue to try to make use of the good relationships that I've spent years building in the Senate and with members of the House as well. But really being hands-on with folks, really trying to meet with folks, try to listen to folks, and really understand maybe where are areas of common ground that we can move forward on. So I'm going to have a very hands-on approach as governor in working with the legislature.
A follow-up question to that, and this is one that I've been wondering about after I've talked with a number of people, is to have a hands-on approach. I would think that you would have to be able to get beyond just the top level or leadership of each party's conversation or representative, because the parties have their own leadership structure, and how do you get past that level of having continuing those conversations with the people that you've developed relationships with? Is that a thing, that there is a barrier possibly, or a level system you have to work through to be able to interact with the senators?
I think that having an open communication with all the members and figuring out what are the issues that they're focused on, and it may not always be these issues that grab headlines. A lot of times it may be, hey, there's a particular issue that's of importance to my district and to my community, and it may not be something that is particularly controversial, but it may be something that, as governor, maybe you're able to give that a little bit of a push. Maybe you're able to use your platform to try to get that done. And I do think that having communication with folks, not just the folks that are the speaker and the Senate president, the people that are being leadership, but really talking to folks. So, I just enjoy walking into people's office and trying to talk with them, getting dinner, just trying to better understand what their goals are for the session, what they are hoping to get out of it. There will be areas that we'll agree on. There will be areas that we won't. I have no illusions that when I'm governor, there's going to be this, kumbaya moment where all of a sudden every difference that we've had is going to go away. And so there will be things that we'll just say, hey, look, I think we just respectfully have a disagreement on this. But there will be a lot of areas that we can work on. And I think that just figuring out what it is folks are interested in and where there's common ground. And I think the best way to do that is, frankly, a lot of times just by going to dinner, popping in somebody's office and just saying, hey, what are you working on this session? Like, is there anything in your community that I need to be aware of that is going on that maybe I could be helpful with? So I think just continuing that dialogue is going to be really important when I move from from senator to governor.
So, as I remember it, you are a senator that represents Johnson County, which includes the Kansas City area, and it is very populous and one of the wealthiest counties in the state. Has lots of sports figures and, of course, visiting celebrities, as in Taylor Swift, I guess. So, who may become a resident.
Yeah, we're hoping that she may be a voter in the next gubernatorial election. Who knows?
There you go. You never know. So, what are you hearing from your constituents about your decision to run for governor? Are they excited about that? Are they trying to give you certain pieces of advice about what to do and what not to do? What's that interaction like these days?
Yeah, I would say it's all of the above. People have been really excited, really gracious, really generous. There's definitely no shortage of advice in this business that comes in from all corners, from everyone from my mother to constituents. Everybody has advice on how to run a winning gubernatorial campaign. But no, they've been really kind, really generous, really gracious. And I think another reason that I think I'm well suited and well prepared to do this job of governor is I've really had experiences in different parts of the state, in that I grew up in Johnson County. I now represent a state Senate district in Johnson County. But I went to community college in Garden City, Kansas, in rural southwest Kansas. So I got my associate's degree there. And I think that perspective has been really important, because I view myself as, state senator, of course, for my district, but also always trying to do things that I think are in the best interest of the state as a whole. And I would be the first governor in a long time that really would have a genuine connection to Western Kansas. And so I think that I kind of have a foot in both worlds, so to speak, of understanding kind of Johnson County, more dense, urban, suburban, but also having really spent two of the most formative years of my life in Garden City, getting my associate's degree and having an understanding of what those communities represent and how important they are to the fabric of Kansas. So I think that perspective makes me really well suited to do this.
Community college, I'm glad you mentioned that, Ethan. I think maybe we did talk about that in May, that you had gone to community college. I'm also a community college product as well. It was where I got my first degree, and I tell you what, the value of community colleges is just extraordinary in our country.
I appreciate that, and I share that sentiment exactly. We're lucky in Kansas. We have a great system of community colleges. And if you go to a community college, I think that they're just such inspiring places to be, because what you see is people really from all walks of life, from all different backgrounds. You have people just out of high school. You also have older people who are returning as students, or maybe returning to get some sort of a specialization that'll allow them to advance. But it's just this group of folks who come to the community college in different ways, but they're all there because they view it as this is a way to improve their life and the life of their family. And so I just find them really inspiring places. And I think that they are great for so many folks, at a little bit more affordable rate for them to, whether it's getting some of your basic coursework, whether it's going back for a particular specialization or certificate, A lot of our community colleges are really woven in with the businesses in their particular communities and are really working with those businesses to figure out what their needs are and what areas they're looking to hire people into, and they meld that. So I think our community college structure is a huge asset to Kansas. It's something that I'm going to be very focused on continuing to make sure that they flourish as governor. And again, I just find them to be just wonderful places and just kind of treasures in these communities.
In many ways, community colleges are the great equalizers. I know that for myself, I could have never gone to college if it were not for community college, because I could not afford anything else. And so that was really significant for me. And I think that it is one of those things that brings people in regardless of their background and puts them on a more equal playing field with others that we might consider more elite in our society. So they're an incredible resource.
One of the things that we're focused on talking about as part of this campaign is that, and maybe we'll get to this at some point, but one of the centerpieces of my campaign is trying to make Kansas an affordable state, trying to really make cost of living and the ability of folks to have a middle-class quality of life in Kansas. And part of that is saying, from my perspective, college is great for people for whom college is great, but that's not everybody. And you should not have to be a college graduate to have a middle-class quality of life in Kansas. We were in Manhattan, Kansas 2 weeks ago. We took a tour of Manhattan Area Technical College. Kansas has 7 technical colleges in addition to our community college. The technical colleges are also a really critical piece of this. They are doing a great job, and they're providing really great paying jobs, really helping folks develop a real skill that they're then able to go out and use, because traditional 4-year college is not going to be the right fit for everybody in Kansas. No. And I think we need to really encourage folks that, there's options through technical college, there's options through community college. There's, of course, we want to have strong colleges and universities for that. But really, the bottom line is we need to make Kansas affordable, and we need to make a middle-class life available to everybody, whether they went through a traditional college path or not.
You mentioned you're beginning to get out there and meet people. You were in Manhattan recently. You were also recently at the Franklin County Antique Tractors Association, weren't you?
Yeah, we're at the tractor pull.
Yeah, I saw the pic. Yeah, I saw the picture. You're standing in front of a 1936 McCormick Deering Farmall. Mm-hmm. Now, I have a real heart for antique tractors. My wife has an antique tractor about the same year. And do you know what they called that? What McCormick tagged that tractor as, by chance?
No, I don't. No.
It's called the Iron Mule.
Oh, is that?
And I'm thinking, now here's my little piece of advice: take that and run with it, because you're standing right in front of the Iron Mule. I think it's a good slogan for you.
That's great. Oh, that's great. Well, that's
I thought
the most fun part of this is getting around the state and just being in these different communities. And everywhere you go, you learn a little bit about what makes that community special and what folks in that community are particularly proud of. And that has been a really wonderful part of all of this, is meeting folks from all different parts of the state and being in all these different communities.
Well, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, we talk a lot here about difficult conversations. And since we talked with you last time, kind of where have you found yourself in those difficult conversations? If you're able to maybe give us a bit of an idea of what you've been dealing with. Where have the challenges been, and how have you handled those?
Yeah, it's been interesting. We've had a lot of those sorts of conversations. It's been a transition in that I've always, and we would all probably say this about ourselves. So whether it's true or not, I sort of leave that to other people. But I always think of myself as a relatively low maintenance person. And I'm just sort of going about trying to be a good state senator, trying to help my constituents, trying to do a good job for the folks who elected me, and really just kind of keeping my head down and focusing on the work. The nature of running for something like governor is you have to ask a lot of people for a lot of things. And so you have a lot of conversations with folks about, could you contribute financially to the campaign? Would you be willing to publicly endorse our campaign? And so you do feel like, probably more than a lot of us would be comfortable with, you're coming to people with your hand out a little bit more often than you would like. And so you have to, I think, try to get to, and I'm not there yet, but some degree of comfort with, hey, that's part of what I signed up for. And I do need to ask folks to help, whether it's, again, an endorsement, whether it's financial help, whether it's hosting a meet and greet, whatever. But you do feel like a lot of your day is oftentimes spent asking other people to do things for you. Whereas as a state legislator, I've always tried to have the mentality of, I'm the one doing things for other people. I'm the one who's trying to help you with get your uninsurance, your unemployment payment. I'm the one who's trying to help you with this. I'm the one who's where this has been a little bit of a role reversal in that sense.
So, okay. So my brain works like this, right? So I'm sitting here listening to you say that, Ethan. I'm thinking to myself, well, if the governor thing doesn't work out, you could always become a host for public radio. Because you've got that asking for money down, asking for things, right? So,
yeah, we can do one of those pledge drives.
You know, we've touched on this a couple times already today, Ethan, that, you know, this is kind of a divided world that we live in so many ways. And it seems like a lot of folks are at war with one another. And we have been inspired since we last talked with you, in fact, to really shift our podcast to a focus on acts of kindness. And this really came about through an interview we did with a woman by the name of Jules Casey in the United Kingdom, who started a movement called #BeHumankind. And so we credit Jules for kind of prompting us on this. And so we're adding 2 questions to our interviews. And so we're gonna ask you about kindness. All right. The first one is, what is an act of kindness you've received that changed your life?
Well, I would say I received so many acts of kindness when I was a young person and I first got interested in politics and government, and didn't really know how to go about it, didn't really have any sort of a master plan. I mean, I grew up in a family where my parents voted, but we weren't political, really. I didn't grow up going to campaign rallies or meeting politicians. And so it was something that I had an interest in, but didn't really know that much about. And so when I had that interest, I just had so many folks who really went out of their way to take extra time, try to mentor me, try to really help further my interest in that in a really positive way. And to narrow it down, I'll give you one specific example. My dad used to work with a guy who was a Republican representative in the Missouri State House. So he worked, he was a representative and represented a district in Missouri. His name was Brian Pratt. And, you know, my dad went to him and just said, look, my son is just, for whatever reason, got really interested in politics and government. Do you think he could come down and just spend a day with you at the Capitol in Jefferson City? And Brian was just so incredibly gracious to me and so kind, and let me really just kind of be glued to his hip for the entire day. And I thought it was the coolest experience ever. I really could not believe that people got to do this for a living. I thought it was so interesting. And I also remember, though, that one of the things that stuck with me, and I still remember this, is when he would introduce me to other people, he would say, "Oh, this is my friend Ethan." And just the way that he called me his friend, when we probably really weren't friends. I was more the kid of his coworker. But just instead of saying, "Oh, this is this person who's shadowing me today," or "This is this person who's interning for me today," or he really, made me feel almost like, "Oh, this is a peer of mine. This is my friend." And so when he would introduce me to other legislators, it was always, "Oh, this is my friend Ethan," and just created a wonderful day for me that really, again, furthered that interest that I have. And so I'm just grateful that when I had this interest at a young age, I was around people in both parties, not really from an ideological perspective, but just from a mentoring perspective, who just helped me kind of have a positive experience where I wanted to do more. I wanted to progress. I wanted to stay engaged, where I think that if I would have had that interest and I would have had people who were less interested or maybe had some negative experiences, I'm not sure I would have stuck with it. And so it was people like Brian and other folks who really went out of their way when they saw, "Hey, this young person really has a genuine interest in this. I'm going to try to help them further that." Were really true acts of kindness that I don't know that I would be here running for governor without some of those things along my path.
Very nice story. That's very nice. And I don't know, we haven't really talked about parties here, but I just want to be clear, this was somebody from what is now your opposite party, the Republican Party, that was willing to extend that kindness to you.
Oh, which is just above and beyond incredibly gracious.
Yeah.
And again, I still remember just the being introduced as my friend instead of like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is my coworker's kid." It was it was that peer, treating me as a peer really just meant a lot to me.
So, paying it forward, what is an act of kindness you've done that you hope change someone's life? And you don't need to give their name, but is there an act of kindness that you've done that you hope has made a difference for someone?
Well, it really is paying forward those same experiences that I mentioned. I worry, given just the atmosphere that is happening now in our politics. I worry about how is the next generation of people like me who have an interest in this, how are they perceiving today's politics? Because I do think that politics writ large is just much different than it was when I first got interested in it. I think it is, more caustic, more adversarial, meaner, more partisan than when I first had an interest. So I do spend a lot of time thinking, how would a 20, 21-year-old Ethan be perceiving today's politics versus politics when I was first interested in it? So what I've tried to do in sort of my little sphere of things that I can control is try to make sure that when I do encounter a young person, that I try to provide a positive experience for them in politics that hopefully will further their interest in being engaged. And so, for example, we have a program at the state legislature. We call it our PAGE program, where young people, typically middle school and high school, will come to the Capitol for a day, and they will spend a day with the legislator from their district and go to committee meetings with them. They get a picture taken with the governor. They go on a tour. They get to be in the Senate chamber for a period. And I've always tried to really go above and beyond in making sure that those are really positive experiences for those people. So on the days we have pages, to the extent absolutely, if it's absolutely possible, I always try to be sure that I don't schedule any lunch meetings that day, and I try to just have some dedicated time to sit with the page, take them to lunch, have a one-on-one conversation with them, get to know them. If there's another legislator they want to meet, or if there's something that they want to do, I try to help facilitate that. So I'm trying in a small way to pay forward a lot of the graciousness and kindness that was shown to me when I was a young person, because it feels, and I think we would all say this, it feels like it was just yesterday that I was that young person. And so I vividly remember that. And so now that I have some degree of ability to help young people with that, I want to try to facilitate that so they have a positive experience, and that hopefully furthers their interest in being involved in whatever capacity in politics, government, or just being an engaged, productive citizen in their community.
Thanks, Ethan. Appreciate your response to those questions.
Very interesting. And I know, I think if you go to different websites, you can see pictures of the pages with the senators that have hosted them. I think that's a pretty cool deal.
It's a great program. Yeah.
So finally, we ask our guests to ask at least one question of us. Give you a shot at us if you would like. What questions might you have for Tom or I?
Yeah, I guess, how has the experience of doing this show and having these conversations, how has it been, I don't want to say better or worse, but how has it just been different from how you imagined it when you came up with the concept and you started the show at its inception? Now, having done dozens of these shows and conversations, how has it been different than what you imagined it being when it was just a kernel of an idea?
Tom?
Well, I knew you were going to do that, Lamar.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say, first of all, it's been longer. We didn't intend for this to be more than 7 podcasts. And actually, in cutting this one today, I think this is, and Lamar, we missed this milestone. Oh. This is number 52 or 53 since we started 3 years ago. And so it's been kind of shocking that we all of a sudden are looking up and we're going like, whoa, we've done more than 50 of these things. I don't think either of us expected it to last this long. I think that the other thing that comes to mind for me is how much I really enjoy this. At first, it was a lot of work because I was learning software, editing software, production software, and I thought, whoa, if this is what this is going to be like for the next umpteen years, I feel like I haven't really retired, But things have gotten a lot faster and easier, and I can kind of come on and relax and just participate in the conversations. And I think that and actually that's the third thing I would think of, is that when we first started doing this, we were more scripted. Mm-hmm. We would come on with a kind of script because we weren't exactly sure, what this was going to look like. Now there's no script. And we just kind of come on and we just kind of like, blah, we're here. Let's have a conversation. It works. And so that's one of the surprising things. And I think what I take away from this personally is I am more conscious today of how I engage with others around these topics. Doesn't mean I don't have opinions. It doesn't mean I don't have strong opinions that I would like to see other people adopt. But I'm more conscious about how I engage with others in a way that I can hear them and hopefully they can hear me. So that's off the top of my head. Sounds rehearsed. There's no script here, though. Didn't script it.
Well said, though. There's been a lot of surprises, Ethan, with how this has impacted us, and it's impacted me. One is the relationships that I feel I have that I've never had before. One just, our connection
you and I. I connect with. We've talked with Stephen Owens already, whom I continue to have connections with. Carolyn McGinn. So on the political side, we've kind of reached out to talk with people about their ideas and their thoughts and their experiences. We've also talked with a lot of people who are doing some amazing things. And that, I think, has been very life-giving for me to realize there are people doing some really important work on trying to be kind, on trying to make a difference in this world in a positive way. That's been very powerful for me. Something that I think both Tom and I have challenged ourselves to do is to try to when we do our research and our reading in preparation for some of the topics we do, and we do a table talk every once in a while. We get into the fun stuff and the humorous stuff, but we try to find both sides of a topic. We try to understand where the middle is, where the right and left is, and try to understand from other people's perspective why they think and believe what they do. I think that's important for us. It's been important for me. So being a whole lot more intentional in trying to find good information about the things that we're interested in. So one last point is this whole thing that Tom and I are starting to move into, this idea of how do we be kinder? That's been a big deal for me. It's something I wish I would have picked up a lot earlier in my life. It's not that I felt that I was an unkind person, but it's felt like there's a lot. You could be a lot more intentional about being the person that other people receive kindness from, and so those are some things that I picked up along the way. This is an interesting journey.
Mm-hmm. So do you have anything else, Ethan?
No. Well, I will make you a deal. When I win the governorship, I would be honored and glad to come back on as governor.
All right.
Woo!
We've got it on video.
Okay, so that takes care of one of the last questions I had. Well, that would be terrific, Ethan. We would be honored if you would do that as well. It just occurred to me. Do you have a primary you have to go through?
I do. There's a couple other folks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And primary is when?
Primary will be in August of 2026, and then the general election will be in November of 2026.
Excellent. Very good. Well, I would imagine that between now and that time, your life is you're gonna feel like you are in one of those rides at the county fair.
Yeah,
that's just spinning you, right?
Yeah,
and but I hope that at least perhaps through email or through your staff, we can touch base with you and just find out how things are going.
Yeah, I would love that. Absolutely.
All right. Okay.
Great.
Right.
Well, I would very much appreciate your time with us today. I know you got a busy schedule. Thank you so much, and It was great. I enjoyed having some time with you again.
Yeah. Thank you, Ethan. It's great to see you again.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation, and again, thank you for doing this work. I think it's incredibly needed. I think it's really important work that you're doing to try to really focus on how we can have these better conversations, how we can get to a third space. And really bridge some of the gaps that we see where we're not having those. So I appreciate the work that you've invested in doing this.
And we'll put some links to information about you in the show notes, and including some of your fun ads, so people can take a look. So,
awesome. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thanks, Ethan. That was fascinating. I really enjoyed this interview with Ethan.
I did too.
I mean, what is it like to throw your hat in the ring and run for governor in a state like Kansas that is it's an interesting state. I've said that multiple times, where there's been kind of bipartisanship leadership, even though it's heavily Republican. we currently have a Democrat governor, and that's not an unusual thing for Kansas. So I think it's an interesting situation for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And he is running as a Democrat. We learned that, of course, he has a primary season to go through, which takes him up to, I believe he said August of 2026, with the general election following in November. So, wow. I mean, what a slog ahead of him. And I just got to say, Lamar, I just really like Ethan.
Oh, he's a good man.
And I enjoy talking with him. He's got a great sense of humor. He's been willing to engage with us in a very open and transparent way, and I really, really appreciate that.
I think we're going to put in the show notes here some of the clips that he has online about his family and about his race. And I find some of them kind of cute and humorous and very transparent. And I encourage people to take a look at it.
Yeah.
But, Tom, we have had 3 or 4 different politicians from both sides of the aisle. And I've been very impressed that people are willing to share a lot about themselves, their perspective, and the work that they do. And Ethan, he's been great to work with the second time around. So hopefully, we're going to see more of this.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, the conversations we've had with Ethan, that we've had with Carolyn McGinn, that we've had with Stephen Owens, those last 2 are Republicans, tends to give one a little bit of hope that there are people out there working in politics that are trying to bridge the gap and trying to connect with people on the other side of the aisle. And I mean, that's what we need. That's what we need. We just cannot continue to go down the road of extreme partisanship. And hopefully Kansas can lead the way in this. That would be nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what is one of the things in this interview that you found most interesting?
So I think when we asked about his act of somebody who had done an act of kindness to him, going to this issue of partisanship, right? He talked about a Republican legislator from Missouri who stepped up and was willing to connect with him and help him understand more and more clearly what is involved in being a politician and a legislator. That really struck me. I thought that's really, really neat, because in this day and age, I can see somebody saying, well, are your parents going to vote for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
If they are, then come on down. But if they're not, well, go talk to one of your people on the other side there.
Yeah. I found kind of the transparency that he was giving to us about asking for help and asking for money really interesting. And I so identify. I mean, I'm still the last person to go ask for donations for something. I could never sell the candy I was supposed to sell for, school. My parents bought it all. Basically.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So, but I know that's hard, but he was talking about the challenges and he's getting there. But it's hard to go ask people that you have typically said, "What can I do for you?"
Right.
And now asking people to do for him in his campaign. So I found that really interesting, and I appreciate him sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that too. Although, Lamar, we did really mess up.
How did we mess up?
We messed up. We forgot to check in with him about his gift basket.
I know. And I'm going to have to get back to him to see if he enjoys the peppers from my garden.
Yeah.
I have such a harvest of poblano peppers right now, so I'm hoping he likes poblano peppers. We just jumped right into it. That's okay.
We did. I think we were just excited to see him again, because the interview we had with him in March was a lot of fun, and I think this was even more fun because I think by this time he knows us, we know him. Everybody's a little bit more relaxed. It was just good. We forgot ourselves.
Well, anyway, it was a great time. It was a good interview and gave us some more insight. And
Absolutely.
also encouraged us that there are people in important leadership roles that really are trying to work together.
That's right.
And I want to hold that out there.
Absolutely. Well, Lamar, I guess that's a wrap for today, huh?
Okay. Well, you have a good one, Tom.
I'm gonna work at it. I'm gonna
All
work
right.
at it. See you later, Lamar. Safe
man.
travels.
You too.
Bye bye. Tom here. Thank you for listening to Getting to Third Space with Lamar and Tom. Remember to click on subscribe to get notices about new episodes, and be sure to like and share the podcast as well. Opinions and ideas expressed in this podcast are solely those of Lamar Roth and Tom Klaus, and we'd like to hear your opinions and ideas too. You can leave us a voice message on Spotify, or you can email us at the addresses found in the show notes. Also, in the show notes, you can find links to some of the things we talked about today, so you can check them out yourself. Until next time, keep moving forward toward third space.
This podcast was reviewed and approved by Jake and Ebby Dogs Incorporated.